Let's talk about the iPhone 17 versus the iPhone 15. Is there enough here to justify an upgrade? I think this is a bit tougher of a tougher sell here. So the iPhone 17 comes in at 177 grams versus the 171 grams on the iPhone 15, and they pretty much feel the same. You have a slightly different camera design and orientation, as you guys can see on the 17. But they look, extremely similar. Matte finish, IP68 dust and water resistant, USB Type C. And they feel like legit the same in the hand as far as like the sides and everything. Now, where you will see a difference is you now have the visual intelligence slash camera control button. So you can take a pictures of stuff and, search it up on Google. It works similar to Circle to Search. And yeah, you can also use it as the camera control button. You can take pictures with it and scroll the UI and all that. And you also do have another slight difference here with the mute vibration switch now turning into the action button. So you can basically program the action button to whatever you want, essentially. So if you can legit put anything here. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. But some people would say it's gimmicky or whatever, which is fine. It just depends on if you think that button is cool. But besides that, that's pretty much it with the hardware. Now, as far as the display upgrade goes here, so this is pretty interesting because I'm wondering how many people would upgrade their phone just strictly for 120 hertz, because that's kind of like the biggest selling point here this year is the 120 hertz display on the iPhone 17. It's a slightly bigger panel as well at 6.3 inches. It's an LTPO panel, Super Retina XDR OLED. It's 120 hertz, and it does go up to 3000 nits peak brightness on the 17 here. And then we do have a 90.1% screen to body ratio. So you guys can see the bezels here are definitely, noticeably thinner on the iPhone 17. We also have 1206 by 2622 resolution. We have 460 for the PPI. This year with a stronger glass, the Ceramic Shield 2 is looking like it is definitely a stronger glass. It's not like a spec thing. So yeah, so overall they both have the dynamic island as well. So the iPhone 15 comes in at 6.1 inches, so it's a little bit smaller as you guys see. And then we also do have the Super Retina XDR OLED. It's HDR10, 2000 nits peak brightness. And yes, it's a little bit brighter outdoors, the iPhone 17. I personally didn't notice, think it was like that much brighter, but it's definitely a little bit brighter. And then you have the anti-reflection coating on the iPhone 17 as well. So the iPhone 15, it does have a still very good resolution, 1179 by 2556. So when we look at like icons and text, they look extremely similar. And the colors also look pretty similar as well. We do have on here 86.4% screen to body ratio, 461 for the PPI. So I would say as far as the screen upgrade, I mean, it's brighter, the bezels are slimmer, and you get the 120 hertz. So it's a pretty solid screen upgrade in my opinion. But is it worth upgrading and spending the extra money? I don't really think so. Like me personally, because the iPhone 15's display is still pretty smooth, like yes, you'll notice faster scrolling, but it really comes down to like what you think. I would, this is what I would do. I would go into Best Buy or something like that, and I would just play around with the screen, and you have to see if it's worth the upgrade to 120 hertz, because 120 hertz is definitely noticeable, but you got to make the decision for yourself, because you might go and look at it, Apple Store, Best Buy, and be like, oh, I'm not, really that impressed with the, smoother display or whatever. All right, let's talk about performance here. So we have the Apple A19 chip on the 17, 256 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM, and we're running iOS 26, of course. And then on the 15 here, we do have the Apple A16 chip, 128 gigs and 6 gigs of RAM. You can see the difference in the single core and multi-core score. I think realistically, they're not really that different in terms of speed. The 17 will open up, games and apps maybe a little bit quicker, where the speed aspect comes in is the 120 hertz is going to make scrolling in animations look a lot smoother. But that's pretty much it. As far as like that general performance, that's basically the gist of the upgrade. And also we can say the RAM upgrade, you can have a little bit more applications in the background without them refreshing on the 17. But I wouldn't upgrade for performance. The iPhone 15 is still more than capable of being fast for what most people do on their phones. Yes, if you game and stuff like that, as we're going to see, the benchmarks are going to be a lot better. But realistically, again, you could still play PUBG, Call of Duty on the 15 still really well. Like I said, this is the most noticeable thing here. The scrolling at 120 hertz versus a 60 is noticeable. But that's why I say go into the Apple Store, Best Buy, check it out. If you're not really impressed with it, then I wouldn't upgrade at all, because I'm telling you, that's like the main selling point. I know a lot of people are talking about the AI stuff as well, aspect of this comparison, and we'll get into that, but that's something that I'm not impressed with at all, especially Apple's intelligence this year. Since it came out, hasn't really been that great. But as you guys can see, just opening up applications, like your general performance, I mean, it literally is opening things up at the exact same time, or like a second faster. So as far as general performance, no, I don't think this is worth an upgrade for most people, because most people aren't going to be like playing like games hardcore on their phone, right? For the most part. But we can see pretty solid upgrade here in Wildlife Extreme. Alright, so when it comes to performance, the iPhone 17, iPhone 15, they feel similar. Like I said, hopefully we get the 120 hertz upgrade for PUBG. But the iPhone 15, it can play PUBG at 60 frames very smoothly, and I don't have any major heating issues. And the iPhone 17 has been a very good performer as well. Like I said, this phone, it should be able to play PUBG 90 frames, 120 frames, but we just have to wait for that optimization. So hopefully, developers start updating their games for this phone. But I mean, that would be a pretty solid upgrade, right? If you were someone who was a competitive gamer, not having to go to the pro model to get the 120 frames. But hopefully we see that. But again, performance gaming, I'm not really that impressed with it. I personally probably wouldn't upgrade for that, because there's just not enough there, in my opinion, because most people won't really be doing that on their phone anyway. And even if you do game, it's not going to be competitively. You're probably going to be, just maybe a match or two of Call of Duty, PUBG, Genshin, or whatever, which this phone can still do very well. Alright, as far as the Apple AI stuff, this is something that I am not impressed with at all. So if you're thinking about upgrading for the AI, like, it can get better, right? But right now, it's really not that great. Like, you have stuff that I like to play around with, like the Genmoji thing where you make your own emojis, but we're talking about this thing being actually useful. It's just not, to me, it's just not as smart. So, like, how much does the iPhone 17 Pro 1 terabyte cost? Yeah, so it should be able to give you like the actual price. Can you tell me what the price is? Oh my god. How much does the iPhone 17 Pro Max 1 terabyte cost? Can you give me the price? Yeah, so it has a used ChatGPT, but this is what like an actual smart assistant. And I noticed this throughout just using this phone. So I'll bring up Google Assistant. How much does the iPhone 17 Pro Max 1 terabyte cost?
The iPhone 17 Pro Max with 1 terabyte of storage costs $1,599.
So I run into this issue with Apple Intelligence a lot. That's just one thing, but I personally don't think it's smart. Like, you don't want to have to go, it can't answer a question, then you got to take extra steps, click on the use ChatGPT. It's just not useful to me. There are some other AI stuff. I don't just want to pick on it for that. You have Object Eraser and other stuff, but like, you have to be real with yourself. Are you really going to use these AI features? Is it really worth paying for to upgrade to it? I don't think most people are, because they're not even that good, right? That's just my personal opinion, but if you want to look at videos and go more in depth and see all the AI stuff, you can, but I'm telling you, it's just not that good. Let's check out these speakers and see if we get if we can hear a difference. Okay, so there is a bit of a difference, but this one is not as significant as we heard with like the 13 and the 11. The 17 is a little bit louder and I think a little bit cleaner. I would say it's an okay upgrade because the 15 speaker is still sounding pretty good in comparison. Yeah, there is a slight upgrade. I would say it's a cleaner sound and it's a bit louder. So I would say it's okay. It's not a bad upgrade. Let's talk about the cameras here. So as far as some of the new features you'll get with the 17, we go to video. You can see we have dual capture, so you can record yourself now and whatever you're recording on your rear camera, which is pretty nice. It's been on Android a while, so I'm actually pretty surprised it actually made its way to iOS this late. But yeah, so that is pretty much it as far as the software features go. And you do have another feature. So if you go into the selfie mode, you can now bring it to a landscape, so you can get more into the shot without actually having to turn your phone to landscape mode. And this also it's pretty useful if you're taking like a selfie with a crowd or something like that. It's pretty useful for that. And that also works for video as well too. As far as the zoom, they both go up to 10 times zoom. As far as the camera specifications go, the 15 has a 48 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can shoot in 4K 60, 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. The iPhone 17 has a 48 megapixel standard, 48 megapixel ultra wide. Can also shoot in 4K 60 with a new 18 megapixel selfie camera that also shoots in 4K 60. So as far as the battery performance goes, I don't really see a big battery upgrade here personally. You're still getting pretty decent screen on time with the iPhone 15. It's not dramatically better. I can still get through the day pretty easily with an iPhone 15. Mine is on like 86 or 7% battery health. The iPhone 17, it does have improved battery life, so I don't want to act like you're not getting any better battery life. You are. You're getting better screen on time for sure. I just don't think it's significant. Now, you do have a bigger battery, 3,692 milliamps on the 17 versus the 3,349 on the 15. They both have the MagSafe charging on here, but you do actually have Qi 2 on the 17, so it's a bit stronger. And you do have MagSafe on the 15 as well. And they both have wireless charging. The charging speeds are a little bit faster on the iPhone 17 at 25 watts versus the 15 watts. That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, this upgrade to me personally is not that impressive, unless you really want the 120 hertz. But I don't really see why you would upgrade. You have to really want the Apple AI stuff in the 120 hertz display. Performance is similar. I thought the cameras looked pretty similar as well too. Battery life is still pretty good on the 15. It just depends on, if you want to make this upgrade, but I don't really see it being worth it.